Welcome to Live Impact News. I'm Julie Kay. 9 a.m. this morning, lots to get to. Of course, we're tracking Hurricane Melissa that is right about to hit Jamaica. So we'll have a check of your local forecast and tracking that hurricane later. We want to start with some local news, something impacting everyone around the country, but particularly here at Charlotte Douglas International Airport. That is where we find our Richard Devane. Now, Richard has been out there talking to TSA workers who are getting their first week of no paycheck in the midst of this government shutdown. We're now like 24 days into this. Richard, what are people saying? I know they're passing out some leaflets.
Yeah, those leaflets are actually being handed out by the air traffic controllers, representatives of that union. These are the leaflets. I just got one just a few minutes ago. They're going to some 20 airports around the country, including Charlotte Douglas, other places like New York and other airlines. They're handing out these informational leaflets. Now, it's very important they say that they hand these out because it tells about the situation, the public safety risks and strain on the national airspace system due to this ongoing government shutdown. Now, as we take a look at video, we can tell you they say it's very important that they get this message out because it's not safe. The longer that this government shutdown continues, it will be unsafe for people to take to the skies because of the situation here. The goal, they say, is to educate the public about the safety issues, then the risk and the growing strain on the national airspace system as the shutdown continues. Now, this is even as the paycheck stopped. This past Friday was the first Friday where they did not receive their pay since this shutdown started. And the air traffic controllers still required to work mandatory overtime, sometimes 6 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day during the last shutdown. Now, many had to take second jobs in that last shutdown just to cover their bills. Some might be doing that now, we're told. Now, the union says the stress and fatigue are once again mounting. They warned that the shutdown is worsening an already critical staffing shortage, leading to more ground stops and flight delays, which have been building for weeks. More than 30,000 last week alone, they say. While some are weather-related, the Department of Transportation says up to 53% of them have been shutdown related, as some controllers call out sick and protest or take second jobs to just try to feed their families. Take a listen.
They're completely distracted from their duties and responsibilities of keeping the American flying public safe.
Instead of focusing on the safety of the American flying public, they're now focusing on what they can't afford to pay.
Talk about a rock and a hard place. These employees are the one people in the government that are forced to come to work. Other people who are furloughed, who can be at home or try and find another job, they're forced to come to work. So their only recourse is actually calling out sick if they're not getting paid. They say that they're just every single day that this shutdown continues is harmful to them as people and overall to safety of those folks who want to take to the skies. They're going to continue to hand out these flyers, talk to people, try and explain their side of how important it is for them to get back to work, to keep everyone safe. We'll have much more on this throughout the day. But for now, we're right here at Charlotte Douglas. A quiet day because on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays, usually the quieter days for people to travel. So it's not as busy as it normally would be. But we'll send it back to you, Julie.
All right, Richard, thank you. I know air traffic controllers a huge part of safety in air travel, not just right now, but in general. So hoping they get their message across. Richard, thank you. Coming back a bit closer to the studio now, we have Chris in here today to talk about all things weather. Now, Chris, lots going on. Here, of course, we also want to talk about Hurricane Melissa. Where do you want to start?
Let's go with Melissa, just because we do have something pretty crazy with the newest update. It was looking like this was going to be the case, so I'm actively updating this graphic as we go. So before, it was the 8th spot that I had a Melissa throughout much of the morning. It was 901 millibars. So the lower that these low pressure systems go, the stronger that they get. And we now have bumped Katrina down to 9. Camille is one of the worst that we've ever seen. Just beat out Milton, where Melissa dropped down to 896 millibars. So now is the 5th strongest hurricane ever in Atlantic history.
That's
so
huge.
Before we were mentioning, this is potentially could be one of the stronger October ones. This could be one of the strongest or the strongest that Jamaica's ever seen. Well, the problem is it hasn't weakened at all. And we now are up to 180 miles per hour. It was at 175 for the longest time. There was a lot of reconnaissance. I was actually surprised by the 8 o'clock update. I thought it was going to go up to 180. Yesterday, I was here in the studios thinking they could go up to 170. It continues to exceed the bounds that it could potentially can reach. That's why yesterday, aircraft reconnaissance, they will say that they would rather fly through a Category 5 than a tropical storm because tropical storms are unpredictable and has a lot of turbulence. The avenues around a Category 5 are much easier to fly in. They had to bail because of the turbulence in the southwestern quadrant, meaning it was so unstable, it's almost like an engine idling because it's reaching its maximum That's exactly what's happening here. So it's moving at 7 miles per hour, and this absolute monster is now even closer, and it's moving towards a place called Treasure Beach. And the sad thing is really taking the humanistic approach. I was looking at some of the businesses that are around there, and a lot of them I don't think are going to be there anymore.
Just by the structure of them, or
No,
just
but
the location?
So, if, for instance, if you haven't seen it before, go to Google and type in Mexico Beach Hurricane Michael. That's where winds are 160 miles per hour. This is 20 miles per hour more. And once you get to this spectrum, wind damage exponentially increases. So what you saw in Mexico Beach, it completely wiped out that portion of it. Julie, you doing that right now?
Yeah, both Carlene and I are looking. I mean, that's just complete devastation.
And
That's
that was 160 miles per hour. It actually made landfall as 155, and they got upgraded to 160. So that's putting it in perspective. And so that's some of the better built infrastructure. A lot of these are little shanties. There's a little place that I saw. It's called the Magic Tree. It's this beautiful little tree that actually sits out in one of the jetties there that people take pictures with. I'm not sure if that's going to be there anymore. There's literally going to be on the eastern side of this eye wall that's heading right towards Black River. And when I say Treasure Beach, this right here, that's a little inlet cove. That's where everything is headed. So it looks like really I would say over the next 2 to 3 hours, we're officially going to have landfall, where previously it was Hurricane Gilbert that was the strongest storm that we've ever had in Jamaican history. That was 1988. It did move from the east to the west, so the eye wall covered much more of the country. Well, this time it's 40 miles per hour stronger. And one thing that really kind of makes me sick to my stomach is one thing that happened here was when Helene rolled through. Helene, we keep saying Hurricane Helene, which is right. It was Hurricane Helene. But we got Tropical Storm Helene, truly. It was leftover tropical storm winds at that point. But the problem is, the further you go up in height, the stronger the winds get because there's less friction. Well, there's parts of Jamaica that go up to 4,000 to 7,000 feet. So, as this makes landfall, I purposely turned on the topography. What you're going to see is our current reading is 180 miles per hour, 215 mile per hour gusts. Some of those mountaintops that are receiving 3 to 4 inches of rain with wind gusts over 200 miles per hour, I would not be surprised. So you have that going on. You have the storm surge. So you have multiple mudslides, landslides. It's the whole western side of Jamaica that's absolutely going to get pummeled. That I can say, and I don't like to say it, that there's parts of Jamaica that in 12 hours are never going to be the same.
Even looking at this graphic
Terrifying.
is terrifying.
Yeah.
How quick those arrows are moving, and I know that's just an animated graphic to try and show what's going to happen here, but watching you break it down at this level is just, it's upsetting.
And that's the other thing is this is also a storm that's starting to pick up the pace, but at that point it was the perfect storm to the point that it was moving so slow that it literally was waiting for like the right conditions. And now this is the 5th lowest barometric pressure. This is now going to be tying the likes of other ones like Irma that are historic, and I'll actually bring that up in a sec. But then on the back side of this, so look at the time, about 1 p.m. I think realistically we're going to see landfall by the late morning and early to mid-afternoon. It's going to exit right around Montego Bay. That's one of the more populated areas. I really hope to God a lot of people cleared more towards the east. And the reason why I say that is, check this out. This is the tropical storm force winds. So that yellow is wind gusts up to about 39, 40. Once you get to 39, you're talking about tropical storm force. The red is the hurricane force winds. So they're much smaller. And then there's even a smaller little pinpoint right around the eye wall that whenever you hear that 175, 180, that literally is the right sliver of the eye wall. It's not widespread. That's the only silver lining here. So you want to kind of go to a non-populated area. I guarantee places like the Treasure Beach, they've been evacuated. Everything in the western side, I know a lot of the coastal lines have been evacuated. Because if they move to the east, we're going to be looking at a lot at Kingston. Kingston is not good. They're receiving a lot of rain. The right side is still tremendous amount of rain. Flooding is bad. But they're not going to receive the winds. Earlier, it was looking like it was mainly going to be just a rain event, Melissa dance around and there could be more Cuba. That's the problem. Cuba, actually, later on tonight, is going to have a landfalling either Category 5 or strong Category 4. So we've been so focused on Jamaica, but the eastern side of Cuba is going to have one of their strongest landfalls.
I have a question, Chris.
Yes.
Just from a perspective of, when I'm someone not an expert in weather, obviously, when I hear about hurricanes, usually once they make landfall, it gets, less strong.
down.
It
Yeah.
slows down. But you're saying it might hit Cuba but close to the same strength. Is that because Jamaica is such a small island? Okay.
It wasn't enough. And then the thing is, if it was moving at 2 miles per hour like it was, the mountains would cut up a lot of it. It's actually the mountains that are over like Hispaniola. They're known as like hurricane killers because they're much taller. But I actually had a good question by one of our producers, and was like, well, is there like anything that could stop it or slow it down, such as land? And I said, at this point, it would be like you standing on I-77 trying to stop a semi. There's nothing that can stop this. So it's exactly it. And all these waters are well above the average ocean heat they should. So believe it or not, the ocean waters are much warmer, and hurricanes want to intensify. That's what they have. And then once they get the right conditions, nothing's stopping this one. Oftentimes, they'll go into what's called the eye wall recirculation cycle, or eye wall replacement cycle as it's actually named. Well, that is going to attempt to happen. I think the eye wall is going to start to close in a little bit, but it's not going to weaken enough. Since it starts moving faster, that's still going to keep it together as it moves towards Cuba. And then you're still going to have hurricane force winds later on tomorrow afternoon in the Bahamas. And then you almost have it right over Bermuda after that. So I'm going to dial this back. I'm going to show you the exact track from the National Hurricane Center, and which, by the way, I want to show you kind of behind the scenes. This is the reason why I was surprised the 8 o'clock update didn't go up to 180 miles per hour. What you're looking right here is the first run that they did through the overnight. They're actually showing some peak winds about 200. Those are likely some wind gusts. But the secondary one, I know this is a little crazy information, but if you look closely, you're seeing 180 there. You're seeing pressure levels right around 900. That was earlier this morning. So there were indications that parts of the hurricane were indeed already up to 180 miles per hour. And we're kind of at the closing hours, so I don't really see it getting any stronger than this, but it's still absolutely astronomical. All right, so let's. This is the official forecast by the National Hurricane Center. It's actually having by 2 o'clock that we're starting to see this Category 5 exit from Jamaica. And then you can see that it makes landfall about 140 miles per hour over here in Cuba. So I think it's going to be anywhere from 140 to 150, depending on how fast it moves. It's kind of a saving grace it's moving so fast, because if it was a slow turner, it would be kind of like Dorian. But it still could hold as a Category 2 strength as it passes by the Bahamas. There's nothing like the United States is a huge hunk of land. So that's what you need. These islands it passes by, it still has warm waters. And then it's still going to keep about hurricane strength as well. And it's just going to be flying. So that's the only thing that happened. Melissa, all she needed to do was several days ago when she was encountering wind shear in the wrong conditions is something to push it out. Then it would have been a big rain event, and this wouldn't have happened. That if you give a system like this a long enough time to develop in the warmest part of the Caribbean, this is going to happen. And that's where we've had some of the worst storms. And speaking of, so Katrina is a name that we know so much. It is absolutely astronomical. And Katrina, by the way, people don't realize, made landfall as a Category 3. So Category 3 is about 125. Now we can officially say that Melissa hit a stronger peak for pressure-wise and then also wind-wise. So I didn't have enough time to update because it literally happened. Now 180 miles per hour matches Mitch, which Mitch, by the way, killed about 19,000 people in Honduras. That one is absolutely historical. You have Rita, Irma hit 180 miles per hour, knocked out 95% of the houses in Barbuda, the island of Barbuda. And then Milton, as we know, made landfall and was one of the quickest rapid intensifications we've ever seen. So that means it is now a 5-way tie for 180 miles per hour. So Melissa is, we keep even say is the strongest hurricane that Jamaica's ever seen, will be one of the strongest that Cuba's ever seen, and for sure one of, or at least in the top 5 to top 10 strongest hurricanes we have ever seen in the history dating back to 1850.
When you put it into perspective of it was so close to not happening, I think that is really what's going to grip people, is that this is like it literally is perfect storm. It requires all these elements, but when it gets a chance to develop like that, I mean, what else could I know? Ugh.
Yeah, and that's the thing is like there's been a few times that this is I'm usually happy-go-lucky, Chris, and
Yeah.
I've sat in silence several times. I'm usually jamming out to music and just realizing, and I hate this. People are gonna die.
Yeah.
We have, people on the ground posting about their experiences, and they didn't. I mean, it's such a small island that there's only so many
There's only
airplanes.
only places you can go.
Only so many
Yeah.
places you can go. I mean, we've known about the fact that this might be this strong for a couple
Yeah.
days now, and the people that wanted to get out
Couldn't.
Yeah.
and that's what's so upsetting too.
And that was also the other thing is I think the best example is Katrina. Katrina didn't kill all those people. It was the levees breaking.
Correct.
And a lot of those people didn't have the financials to even leave.
Right.
And especially for the western side of Jamaica, like Montego Bay is okay, but this is one of the more rural parts. Like I know we keep on bringing up Kingston. Kingston's essentially getting tropical storm force winds and a lot of flooding. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but it's not going to be as life-threatening as what you have here. I still think you could have deaths around there as far as flash flooding, and I hate talking about this, but to the west over there, a lot of people don't have the means to go all the way to Kingston, or where are they going to stay, or know anyone, or it's also a lot of mountains over there. Imagine people that are living up there. It's just
nowhere to
staggering.
go.
Yeah.
The island's only so big.
Yeah, this is one situation on Friday. It was a tropical storm, and I was just hoping something would get better, but literally everything leading up to its landfall, which is going to happen here in the next couple of hours, it just keeps getting worse. And it's at this point, all you can do is pray, because you really can't do much outside of that. And I'll show you one more look. There's category 5s, and then there's storms like these. The max that we've ever had in the Caribbean and the Atlantic, as I just was showing you, is 180 to 190 miles per hour. So what you're looking at right now, and look at things even changed from when I was first showing you. So let's do a new measurement. Hold on. Oh man, yeah. This is the most eerie thing is what you're doing is you're just ticking. It's a ticking time bomb. So now you have about 20 miles until you even get the worst of the worst. Truly, it's the eastern side of that. So let me see, 7 miles per hour, so yeah, at least 2.5 hours, I think that we're looking at for absolute landfall. And then right in the middle, it's calm, but it's on those edges. That's where you're going to have that devastation, like what happened in Mexico Beach, what happened in parts of Barbuda. I'm just hoping that as many people as possible. I'm hoping the totals are low. Gilbert killed 45 to 49 people. That's the range that they give. But yeah, I'm hoping that the fatalities are low. But this is the type of situation that this is ungodly. It's frightening, plain and simple.
I'm with you too. I'm just kind of at a loss for words here. I mean, all we can do is just watch it happen, which is upsetting.
Yeah. Well, so at that point, might as well. I guess let's go to break.
I agree with
and
that.
then we'll come back and we'll talk about our weather forecast. There's nothing close to this, but in the meantime, prayers for people in Jamaica, surrounding areas, Cuba. They're going to be impacted by Hurricane Melissa.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, we appreciate you, breaking this down for us, because I know it's heartbreaking. It's tough, but it's important to know. So we'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, welcome back to Live Impact News. Here in the studio, we have Chris, and we just got a breakdown of Hurricane Melissa. Of course, something we're going to be watching over the next few hours as it makes landfall. But Chris, also some rain happening here locally, so no sign of that slowing down today, is there?
No, well, it will get better by the afternoon, but you're still looking at a dreary day.
Yeah.
So we're doing two opposites here. We're not talking about sunshine. You will look at some heavier pockets of rain, and we mainly have that north of Charlotte. So here's what we've been doing over the last few hours. This right here, by the way, is the most widespread and heavy rain we'll have for today. I think we'll have another similar looking radar image by late tomorrow and tomorrow night, and then that's going to be the last hurrah before we get this out of there. But one thing that you can really see here is we're pushing some winds out of the south, but then it's also feeding in some cooler air to the northeast, and it's going to be a breezy day as well. So what that is that just constantly keeps rain around, but we are slowly going to dial things back. But today, interestingly enough, it's not a record-breaking day, but so far we've hit a high of 51 degrees. That was around midnight. Well, the coldest high temperature we've ever had for October 28th here in Charlotte was 49, and then it was 52 and 53. So this will still be one of the coldest days we've ever had on this day in climatology for October 28th, and it's just not going to be great. And there's also another thing really to mention is that it will feel a whole lot chillier just because of the winds, and the winds are going to be pretty gusty as we work our way on and off throughout the day. I am anticipating gusts to get up to about 30 miles per hour. For example, I think sustained winds will be about 19 to 24. It's known as a fresh breeze per the Beaufort wind scale that was inducted by Sir Francis Beaufort, and it really is just wind ranges that show about what you can expect. So whenever you have a fresh breeze, you're talking about small trees starting to sway in the breeze, and then some gusts are going to get up to about 30 to 35. That's known as a strong breeze. That's where the bigger trees are really starting to sway. And since we are at the point that a lot of the leaves are starting to come off of the trees, this is going to mess up our peak of fall foliage here in Charlotte. It's already been coming down. You're going to see a lot more leaves on the ground, and I mentioned it yesterday. Watch for those wet leaves that can lead to some extra slick spots. But we also need to rejoice because Charlotte FC fans, it's not the greatest day, but you're going to have a lot of slide tackles, I think. It's going to be a wet field, but by the time that you get to this game, I think you're going to see a little bit of a clearing going on. It's still going to be damp. That's the thing. So I always tell people when you have this type of scenario, bring a little towel. I think they're also giving some out where you can rally towel. There'll be people that can wipe your seats, but be independent.
Yeah.
So just letting you know that that is going to be a possibility.
Nobody wants a wet tushy.
Nobody wants a wet tushy. Thank you.
Not me. Not me.
Tomorrow's kind of the opposite. I think that we're a little bit drier in the morning, still a chance for on and off showers, but then more likely to see rain to end the day. So let's get right to our future cast. Here's exactly what we're going to be looking at over the next several hours. Here's the rain right now through this morning. You can really see it take a big step back. So I still think we have active rain, some drizzles and pockets of rain in between through the afternoon. But then once you get to the late day, right around game time, I think it's mainly just some mist, maybe feeling damp with a passing shower or two. By tomorrow, we don't see as much. It becomes a little more widespread through the afternoon and the evening, but then we have this final push. There's the slightest outside chance that there's a rumble of thunder. I'm not worried about any big storms, just saying that some might be surprised by that, and it's very outside chance. We're talking about maybe 10% chance. But these are big enough, and this is also going to be some heavier downpours at times. That could impact your Thursday morning commute, so keep that in mind. Once this passes, we're going to be clearing things out. As far as how much rain that we're going to see as this model resets, I think it's upwards to about 1/4 of an inch total, and that's across 2 days. But to the northwest for the mountains and the foothills, I think it's about 1 to 2 inches when all is said and done. Now, once we get the rain out of here, we're talking about Halloween. The warmest Halloween we've ever had is 89. The coldest low is 29 degrees. Last year, we had a high of 80 degrees. I was sweating in my rhino costume because JT was Spider-Man. But this time, it's the opposite. It was you have to bring yourself back to 2 years ago where we had a high of 64. Very similar to that, slight chance for rain. And actually, it's less than 25% of all the Halloweens in Charlotte history we've had rain. So there's good news there. But then leading to our 7-day forecast brought to you by the Jerry Hunt Super Center. By this weekend, weekend, heading into the 1st and 2nd of November. So I'm talking about Dia de los Muertos, which, by the way, is a great festival at, Camp North End. Thank you.
Yeah, they have a good one.
We go there pretty much every year. But then don't forget that we also fall back, y'all. So it is the end of daylight saving time. So that means it's going to be saying DST, daylight standard time. So that means our days are completely changed. But how does it look? For example, you didn't see it. You're not going to see it. But the sunset will be at 6:33. It will noticeably get darker, so you know that. So the change, it should be obvious, but sometimes seeing it is really believing. Since we're moving back an hour, the sun's rising up earlier, so 6:46, so better for bus stop goers. But the sunset time is at 5:27.
That's great for morning show people
That's
like
great
Chris.
for,
You have to go to
Chris
bed
is like,
early.
that's fine
So
with me.
hey,
This is I don't
small win for Chris today.
I was like, I don't get the big deal over here. What are you talking about? No, it is a bummer because I still like to go on those later day walks and stuff because your day gets cut short, and then it's at the back ends. Oh man, what am I thinking about at the top of my head? I think it's 5:10 in the first 10 days of December is where we hit our earliest sunset time. Then after that, it pretty much stays the same and then actually starts to increase through December. So it's not January as most people think. The earliest sunset time is actually the first couple of weeks of December. So it will get earlier, but then after that, it does get better.
You know what? I'm going to be positive today. Do I like being cold? No. But do I like seeing Christmas lights earlier in the day? Yes, I do.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
Sure.
That's
So
true.
we're going to look on the bright side.
I like that. Yeah, and
Holiday season. It's going to be fine.
it'll come up sooner than you think. Soon all the big pumpkins and inflatables will go away, and then
And then more inflatables, and then, jolly ones.
Yes.
I have to say, I think I'm more a fan of Halloween inflatables compared to Christmas inflatables.
Really?
Yeah.
Christmas inflatables do kind of give me like the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
But Halloween ones are supposed to do that.
Yeah, see,
That's-
that,
yeah,
I think
that's
that's
the
what
point.
it is.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
the point.
Because like there's giant minions. There's like a giant minion on my road, for example.
Yeah.
But then like a giant minion Santa. So I was like, all right, what are you up to?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Suspicious.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Anyway.
I like that.
What is that?
Okay, there it is.
It's
Just
So
full-
it's a relatively dry Halloween is what you said.
Yeah, no.
Small
Can't-
chance for rain. So
No,
somebody
no rain on Halloween.
Because
Zero.
somebody whose costume's made of mostly paper.
Yeah.
Rain would not be great.
When do you reveal what your costume is?
Friday.
Friday. Okay, that's
You'll
right.
be here, right?
Yes.
Great.
I am off
For the
tomorrow,
reveal.
but then I'm back on Thursday, Friday.
And I have 2 days to think of one. So if anyone has ideas, let me know. But Chris, thank you as always.
No, of course. Thank
Appreciate
you.
you coming in here. Lots of important things. Busy day for meteorologists everywhere. So
Yeah.
thank
For sure.
you for taking the time.
Appreciate you.
Carlene, do we want to take a break or do we want to get to that forum? What are
Let's
you
take a
thinking?
quick break and then we get to four.
All right. That's a tease, guys. We'll get to a forum after this. We'll be back in 2 minutes. All right, welcome back. Julie Kay here, just past 9:30 in the Live Impact studio. I mentioned we wanted to get to a forum. This is the Sarah Stevenson Forum that they've had multiple times over the last couple of months now. This is where council candidates, school board candidates get a chance to debate each other, answer questions from people. Really a key piece of a lot of these races has happened at these public forums. Today is District 6. That started about an hour ago. We're going to start from the beginning, though, so you get all the information. But this race is particularly dicey. Of course, this is the one where former Councilman Tariq Bokhari left in the middle of his term to go work for the Trump administration. He, a Republican, now stepped down from that role as a transit in the transit sector of the Trump administration. But his wife, Krista Bokhari, is now running to fill that seat. She is running as a Republican. She is going against Kimberly Owens, who is a Democrat and a political newcomer. Both of them are, but of course, Krista Bokhari, her name has been brought up quite a bit in these discussions as she applied to fill the seat temporarily in the wake of her husband leaving, which she did not get the council votes to do. And she's just been involved in a lot of these discussions. So 2 newcomers, one less involved in the political scheme than others. This seat is typically leaning Republican, but of course lots going on right now, a lot of upheaval within council, and so really could go either way. This is going to be a really interesting race to watch, 2 very different candidates, so let's take a look and see what they had to say today.
Since we don't have our speakers here right now, do we have anyone that's here for the very first time? We have a guest here. So we will try real hard to impress you so you'll come back.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Rollins Walker. I just moved here from Atlanta. Been here since May. And I work for Mark picking Fort Lincoln. I'm the fleet salesman there. So Rodney told me about this and said you need to come, and this is a good place to meet people and learn more about the city. Yeah. So glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming, and we'd like to welcome our listening audience, those that are viewing us by way of Facebook and live streaming. I'd like to just introduce to you particularly the folks that are responsible for the Tuesday Forum, and I'll let them introduce themselves and we'll tell you what they do. I'm one of the facilitators and conveners, Laura McClay, and this is...
My name is Thomas Moore. I'm an early childhood educator. I've been doing all kinds of things around this place. Because when you're doing things for kids, you're doing things for everyone. I have no fear, because I've been with a 4-year-old. I have no fear, because I've been with a 3-year-old, 2-year-old, 1-year-old. And you will notice, I don't care how strong that person is, when that person gets before a kid, that person has to kneel. So I'm here kneeling every Tuesday.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Johnston. Been brewing the coffee since 2003. It's not that old. It really isn't. Well, and then there was this thing about, well, maybe we should send out announcements by email. And then, well, you know, there's this new stuff called the internet, and we ought to have a website. And the answer was always yes. And so I'm still here. Thank you. Yes.
So you see, we have music, we have technology, and this is...
I'm just here to look good.
She is our timekeeper. She knows.
What's her name?
Look good. Nathalie Miguel.
Look good. Good morning, I'm Jackie Edwards Walton. I'm one of the conveners for the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum.
Okay, and last but not least, we have our star. He's our motivator. He's our person that brings all of the fun and the glamour and the excitement to Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forward. Ta-da!
Go for it. I don't know why she set up all that gas, but that is absolutely not the case. But my name is Winston Robinson. I've been a forum facilitator since 2018, I believe. Started host facilitating earlier this year, I think. Well,
tell him who's your dad.
my dad is Tommy Robinson, who introduced me to the forum by way of wanting to spend more time with him when I was in my experiential marketing career in which I traveled a lot. So Monday and Tuesdays were my weekends that landed me here. And all these years later, I'm now a facilitator. Is it ordained by the Miss Sarah Stevenson herself?
That's right, he sure was. And we'd like to welcome all of you. We have regulars that come through, but we do have groups. We do have our guest, Kimberly Owens, who's come from District 6, that will be sharing with us this morning. But we, what you've heard here, Rodney, right? Rollins, is we are dedicated, and we've been doing this for almost 40 years, a little over 40 years. Am I right, Jackie?
Yes.
Okay. And we are all committed, and we volunteer, and we meet almost every Tuesday, about 42 to 47 Tuesdays out of the year, from 8:30 to 10. And we have various guests that come in, and we allow them to present. We're going to give Kim some time this morning because she's here by herself. And then what we will do is open it up for questions, and we identify those that will raise their hands. And we don't debate, and we ask you to give a 30-second question. And we'll give her at least 2 to 3, maybe 4 minutes to answer the questions once we get into the question and answering phase. But we'd like to welcome you all here, and we'd like to ask you to just govern yourself accordingly. And for you, Kimberly, you're familiar with the group. People come in respectfully and they leave respectfully. And we'd like to thank Ricky Robbins for the donuts. He's been bringing the donuts, and we have the coffee, and we have coffee available. We just ask if you want to give a donation, fine. If not, Steve doesn't care. He's okay with that. But without any further ado, I'd like for Kimberly just to open. Did I miss anything?
Phones.
Oh, yes, phones. Silence your phones, please. Me included. Okay. We don't like interruptions. And Shay is in the back. Shay is one of our members of volunteers, group of volunteers that come almost every Tuesday morning. And we have the regulars. So once again, thank you, Kimberly, and I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everybody. I'm delighted to be here. I've been looking forward to this for many months. I think you'll recognize me because I do try to attend this, and I intend to attend going forward regardless of the outcome of this election, in large part because I found such a community here of people who are really interested and passionate about Charlotte. And I love that alignment. I've learned a lot here when I'm not able to make it. I do participate online, and I've tried to encourage a lot of people to engage with this forum. So I hope, I hope some of my District 6 people are out there watching. I applaud this forum for bringing together folks to talk about politics, not just as audience members, but also as presenters up here. I've had very few opportunities over the course of this candidate cycle to engage with my opponent. I think that is a disservice to the people of Charlotte. I think it's a disservice to District 6 particularly because they have not been afforded an opportunity to see the two of us together and to get a vision of each of our respective differences. And yet again, my opponent is not here, but I thank you for holding space and enabling me to still come. So again, I'm Kimberly Owens. I'm running for Charlotte City Council in District 6. Who am I? I'm a mom, I'm a lawyer, and I'm a community leader. I've raised my kids here in Charlotte. I've lived here for 30 years, largely in District 6. I have served as an attorney, both as outside counsel in a couple of different law firms, and then as in-house counsel with a Fortune 100 financial services company. I left there a year ago because I really felt as though I needed to lean in more heavily into the outcomes that I wanted for our country and for our state. And I couldn't do that working in financial services. You've got a lot of restrictions, pay-to-play restrictions, you can only give a certain amount of money, etc. And I had the great good fortune of having my children approaching the end of their college years. And so I did have the privilege of being able to step aside from my career, and really the last year I've spent working on campaigns. I worked on the gubernatorial race. I worked, of course, on Vice President Harris's race. I worked more locally here on Woodson Bradley's race and Nicole Sidman's race. I felt very passionately about Nicole Sidman's race because I had known Trish Cotham and had handed out blue ballots for her in the past, and I felt betrayed by her party switch and what that portended for women's reproductive health in North Carolina. So I had a lot of passion. I took that into this last year, and the only thing I hadn't done was put my name on a ballot. So here I am. I'm leaning in. I am, as I said, I've got the 3 kids. My 3 children are at ages where they do want to come back to Charlotte, and they're not really able to do so with opportunity that I had when I moved here in 1994. And so that's a big part of my why. And then finally, I do serve the nonprofit space. I am chair of RAIN, which is the Regional AIDS Interfaith Network, and the Havens, which is our housing facility. It houses 26 families who have experienced chronic homelessness and also have a variety of disabilities. And so that has been really passionate work at a time where our national picture is not as fortunate for our nonprofits. And so I want to take those talents here to our city council. So my 3 priorities for City Council, public safety has become such a hot topic, so I will start there. I will say that I do not approach it with the same amount of political stunts that my opponent does. I do not believe that we are a hellscape of a city. I think we are a very safe city. I think there are pockets of need, and those pockets of need have created a lot of tensions on our existing infrastructure. So if we look at an experiment, I think it's a failed experiment in mental health, particularly in North Carolina, where we have defunded a number of the resources that were previously there. I think we can point to a lot of different directions, and all of them really result in we are experiencing success of growth without a corresponding growth of our infrastructure, be it our police officers, our DAs, our courtrooms. There's a lot that we could be doing better to make people feel safer, but on the whole, the issues that we are experiencing are issues of our success. We are growing, and when you grow, you need additional resources. So I will stop there on public safety. My second element is good governance. I am a big proponent in transparency. I think a lot of the reasons that people do not have comfort with our current city council is because we have lacked some transparency. I am very hopeful that the new city attorney, because she does come from a municipal background, will be more aligned with some of the public disclosure that I think we all favor and have come to expect from our city leaders. And then finally, I will say that I am a proponent of a prosperous city, and that does have implications for transit. I don't believe you can have upward mobility without mobility. I do believe that I already voted for the transit tax, and I appreciate that reasonable minds can differ, and I'm open to those discussions today, but I personally did cast my vote for it because I felt it was good for District 6 and it's good for our future prosperity. So that is very high level who I am and why I am up here, and I am just delighted to be here, excited that this forum exists and that it does provide opportunities for people to see their candidates. So thank you.
Thank you. Our first question comes from Ryan Lidd.
Sorry, Dale. Good morning. I come in here since I started about 3 months ago, and my wife's better get out of this house thing. But I hear all of these candidates with promises and things like that. This past weekend, I was in conversation with someone, and he was talking about that the city manager, that the city has a report card that they keep on him. Do you have a written report card where you want to accomplish things so that I can't depend on my remembering what you said. I can look at your report card and say, you did this, you promised this, but you didn't do it, so I can know whether to vote for you or not.
I appreciate the question. I do not yet have one in mind. However, I will take a page from one of the at-large candidates who I supported, Namrata Yadav, who spoke very eloquently to the need for additional accountability and wanting to set up dashboards for each of our electeds. Those dashboards did include, from the very simplest, attending meetings and taking votes and being prepared, what committees you're on, a variety of touch points that are eminently verifiable and are kept in records but are not actually disclosed to the people you kind of have to dig for. And so making that sort of accountability more transparent. I would wholeheartedly do that. As far as campaign promises, just in full candor with you, I'm making very few actual promises. I've led a career of 30 years in law, trying my utmost not to overpromise and underperform. I don't know what I'm walking into up there because I have not served yet. My promises are around my own behaviors, and you can know that I will not take lightly conflicts of interest, for example. I will not be buying up large swaths of property along our future transit corridors for future benefit. I will not be investing in single-family homes and then turning those around and renting those at usurious rates. I won't be doing any of that because it's not my true north. My true north is to do what I can in the time that I have to make this city better. And I expect you to hold me accountable. I expect to be up here, not just when I'm seeking re-election, but at other times when this community asks me to be here or wants information on a particular topic that the city council is discussing. So I intend to be available to everyone, and I hope I'm hearing on a routine basis how I'm doing, not just with an annual scorecard.
Good morning. Thank you for being here, and thank you for those kind words that you said about our group. I'm interested in your opinion on the government shutdown and what you think the Democratic strategy should be.
You flatter me thinking that anyone would care about what I think about Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer's strategy. I have been very clear throughout this campaign that while I am a Democrat, I view local governance as not needing to become embroiled, nor is it a best service to the people to become embroiled in some of the nonsense, quite honestly, that happens both at our state level and at our federal level. I am keen to work across aisles with people, and I have consistently cited President Truman, who said it'd be amazing, it's amazing how much you can get done if you don't care who gets credit. So in a local government sense, I don't care who gets credit. If there are things that Charlotte needs and Phil Berger needs me to give him all the glory for whatever he's been able to do for the great state of Mecklenburg, then I'm inclined to do so, because the people need action and they need money. We need resources for the things that we need here. As far as the government shutdown goes, I am very supportive of the efforts that are being made to hold this government accountable. It is a government that is controlled, much like the state of North Carolina's government is controlled by the Republicans. So the fact that we don't have a budget here in North Carolina is equally heavy to me as the fact that we have got a government shutdown. I hate that that is going to hurt people the way that it is. I wish that I had better solutions. I heard many calls today on the news for people to really donate to our food pantries and to be very prepared for November 1st when SNAP benefits are no longer going to be available to families. Having families bear the brunt of hurt because our electeds cannot get along or cannot get out of their own way is very frustrating to me as a citizen. But I do hold true that none of us need to be paying the quadruple rates for our health insurance that are going to happen if we don't hold the line right now and get the Republicans across on that issue. So it is very complicated. As a city council member, I will do what I can to be responsive to the people's needs when the government does shut down as it is right now.
Robert Collins.
Ms. Kimberly. In this room, a hot topic is usually gentrification. So I want to take that to your area for a moment. In your area, there's a lot of homes being built that are 2.35 million, 3.5 million. What are you going to do, or what do you want to do for the people that have been there forever, but now their taxes are gone irate because they're gentrifying themselves as well?
I had a meeting yesterday with the Homeowners Association around the bounds of the UDO and wanting to understand what and how they could react to what they perceived as a real risk of duplexes and triplexes in their neighborhood and losing the character of their neighborhood. So there are so many different folks who are affected by development, and there are so many different narratives that we tell ourselves around why we more broadly expand developmental opportunities. The truth is, in this neighborhood, if somebody does go in and build a duplex or a triplex in the neighborhood, they are going to be changing the character of the neighborhood, but they're not going to be addressing attainable housing, because to your point, those are going to be $1 million duplexes, or it's just we're not getting at it in the right way, is what I'm saying. My area, yes, is an exceptionally wealthy area. The fact right now, as I said, my kids can't afford to live in Charlotte. They can afford to live in their high school bedrooms. District 6 is experiencing a workforce.
All right, you've been listening into the District 6 Forum. Interestingly enough, though, Krista Bakari not there. She's the Republican candidate who did not show up this morning. That is Kimberly Owens. She's the Democrat. She did address the fact that Krista Bakari was not there off the top, but she's continuing to answer questions from voters, from constituents. This, of course, is notable. Krista Bakari, not the first person to not show up to this forum, but it is a very historic and important forum, the Sarah Stevenson Forum. So definitely interesting. Will be interesting to watch if there's any backlash to her absence. But we're going to take a quick break and come back to that later on. But we've got some more local headlines to get to in about 2 minutes. Welcome back to the Live Impact Studio. We're going to get back to that Sarah Stevenson Forum in just a bit and another update on Hurricane Melissa, but we're going to come back here to our local area for now. Something we're seeing, and we have seen quite a few times, is of course scams, job scams. This is a thing all over the country, but here in the Charlotte area, we're seeing this as people posing as HR now, so a little bit different. We've got Juliana here from the Better Business Bureau. So Juliana, what are you seeing? What do people need to know?
Yes, so we always get job report scams reported to us, and so this one's just a little bit different. They're basically the same type of a job scam, but now they're saying they're from HR, and we have names that have specifically been reported to us more than once. So got my little cheat sheet here. But Rebecca, Grace, Jasmine, Linda, Megan, Dorothy, and Olivia are all names that we have had reported to us more than once. And so we want people to be aware that if you are reached out to for a job, whether you've applied to them or not, be on the lookout specifically for these names. And we do have this information on our website, so you don't have to remember all the names that I just read off. But we are getting quite a few reports as far as, these job scams, and it's probably only going to get worse as we head into the holiday season, where we know a lot of companies hire seasonal employees. And so you just, as a consumer, want to be on the lookout for anybody, especially if they reach out to you and you haven't applied for a job recently. Oftentimes a lot of these companies, that LinkedIn, Indeed, these places where you apply, they might keep your resume on file. And so oftentimes they're going to say, hey, we got your resume from this recruiting site and we think you're going to be this perfect fit. But be a little cautious if you haven't really applied for jobs anywhere. The last time I applied for a job was about 8 years ago. So anytime somebody's like, oh, I have your resume, I'm like, do you? Because I haven't really done anything with it for a long time. And so, these are different tactics that they're using to take advantage of people.
Especially too right now, I think a lot of people, not just holiday season, but a lot of people looking for work in general. So
Yeah.
I'm sure that's adding to it.
Yeah, there's always people looking kind of for part-time work, part-time jobs. And what they'll do, it's really enticing. And so they'll reach out to you on, whatever platform. They'll say, hey, we have this great work available. You can work from home. It's a very lucrative salary that, quite honestly, is probably too good to be true. But they tell you all the things you want to hear. And one of the tactics that they use as well is they get you off of that platform and they want you to communicate via WhatsApp. And so once they get you off of that platform and they have you communicating on WhatsApp, they might ask you a few more questions that pertain to this, quote unquote job. And they get all excited. They offer you the position, and then they're going to start asking you for your personal information so that they can get you on their payroll. They want your, address, your full name, maybe your social security number, your banking account information. And that's where things start to go south, because if you provide that information, they can commit identity theft, identity fraud, or they can now have access to your bank account and they can steal your funds.
Why WhatsApp, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, I was about to ask
I think because WhatsApp is such a universal platform that people use across the world for communication purposes. And I also think it's because a lot of times these scammers are overseas. And so it just makes it really easy using WhatsApp. I know anytime I travel, I use WhatsApp because it's so much easier than trying to text somebody. You never know if it's going to go through or not. And WhatsApp is such a universal.
You have to pay to send messages.
Right. So it's very universal. And so that's also a red flag. If you are communicating with somebody and they say, hey, let's communicate via WhatsApp, especially for a job, that's a little bit interesting, because oftentimes if you communicate with somebody, it's going to be via email. Right. They're going to call you. We always recommend, anytime somebody reaches out to you for something like this, if you are looking for jobs, research whatever job they're offering you. They will put up, potentially fake websites. And so you can even search the name of the company, the job title, and then throw the word scam in behind it to see, have other people talked about this? Because oftentimes when people get taken advantage of from, a scamming perspective, yes, they're embarrassed, but more often than not now, they want to tell people about it because they don't want it to happen to other people, or they're just pissed, right? And so they want the world to know, this person tried to take advantage of me, whether they did or not, hey, I want you to know that this is happening. And so those are some of the things that we're seeing, and it's unfortunate. One of the other things that they'll do too, kind of a little bit of a different twist, if you will, they will, if once they hire you, they might say, oh, we're going to help you build this home office, we're going to send you a check. They send you a check for a large amount of money, and then you deposit it, but then they're like, oh, we actually sent you too much money, we need you to send some of it back. So if anybody were to send some of that money back, that check is going to bounce anyways, and the waiting period on checks to clear with banks can be different, and it can be a lengthy period for it to actually clear. It can take up to a few weeks. And so you could potentially be sending money to them that is actually your money and you're never going to get it back. And it's really sad all around.
messy.
Yeah, it's very messy. And like I said, this time of year it gets worse, especially because there's so many people that are going to be looking for extra work come holidays. You know, it's a busy time of year and it's an expensive time of year. And so we just want people to be aware that these things are happening and we don't want people to get taken advantage of.
This is so mean.
I know.
This is so
I know.
mean.
We talk about it all the time. If they used all of their tactics for good as opposed to bad, man, the world would be a better place. But they don't, and they just
here
want to
we
take
are.
advantage of people. Yeah, here we are.
Well, you mentioned, if it's too good to be true, it probably is. So,
Yes.
like, extensive salary over,
Yeah.
like, PTO, that seems too
If they're
much.
telling you, you can work from home a couple hours a week, and we're going to pay you like $1,000 a week or something astronomical. I mean, we all know what kind of work we've done in the past, what
Yeah.
kind of salaries we've looked at. I mean, you have a ballpark idea of what a job might potentially offer.
Or you
and
can research it.
Well,
and-
that's just
yeah,
it. If you
like-
don't, so many of these companies, LinkedIn, Indeed,
Right.
all of these places put out reports on what the average salaries are, whether it's for a for-profit company, a nonprofit company, depending on the work you're doing. There's so much information out there that you can find that is legitimate. So you should have a good idea of what somebody would be willing to pay you. And if it seems, substantially more than that, start asking questions. I know we all want to make millions and millions of dollars, right? Just from
Right.
sitting at our home a couple hours a week. But the reality is that's not going to happen.
Oh, I would fall for it.
Yeah.
That sounds great.
I know. Well, and that's just it. People do because they're like, oh, this is great. Or they fall for like part of it. And then once they're in the middle and the thick of it, they realize, okay, this isn't right. They shouldn't be asking me for this information or saying that you've sent me too much money. Now you want me to send you money back. That seems a little crazy. No
Yes.
company's ever going to do that.
No, sure.
If they send you too much money, I don't know that they're going to ask for it back if that were ever the case. So yeah, there's a lot of red flags to be on the lookout for.
You mentioned specifically seasonal work. Any types of jobs in particular, companies in particular that you've seen targeted most?
Yeah, so Amazon and these like big ones that do mass hiring, right? So one of the companies that was reported to us in some of these alerts that we get, Amazon. Another one was Creative Niche, Scion Staffing, WBD Global Streaming. These are all kind of random names. Amazon's obviously the biggest player that you're going to see, but I think some of these larger companies that we're all familiar with, the Walmarts of the world, things like that. But scammers aren't afraid to impersonate any company. They've even impersonated the Better Business Bureau. And we ask people to report stuff like that to us so then we can put out alerts. We can send you all information. So whether I come talk to you all or you just report on it quickly on your own, that we want to know what's going on so we can alert people, hey, this isn't happening. I think I heard a story this morning about another type of scam happening, and it's like, hey, we will never just text you out of the blue. Hey, we're not just going to call you out of the blue. So if you're getting texts and calls, be cautious.
Right.
Anything else people need to know that we haven't touched on?
Just trust your gut instinct. If it's too good to be true, it's probably because it is.
Oh, bad news.
I know, it's unfortunate. I know.
Heartbreaking.
So, consumer education is important. So that's why we want to make sure everybody knows what's going on and what we're seeing, especially here in our local community.
I'm still stuck on impersonating the Better Business Bureau. That's
Right, that's bold.
That's bold.
Yes,
Super
they do.
respectful.
Yeah, they will call people and say they're the Better Business Bureau. And fortunately, we have a lot of businesses in our area that they'll call us to confirm,
Right,
hey,
yeah,
did
of
somebody
course.
call? And of course, we have a system. We keep notes and all those things. And sometimes it's like, oh yeah, we called you for XYZ. You're a member with us. And oftentimes it's like, actually, there's people impersonating us. We didn't call you. And so it's great that people are calling and checking. But yeah, they'll impersonate anybody.
Yeah. Gosh. Well, definitely important to stay on top of things in general, but particularly as we head into the holiday season. Juliana, thank you for coming in. We're going to take another quick break. We'll be back in about 2 minutes. Welcome back to the Live Impact Studio. Lots going on this morning. We'll get back to some of the forum in a bit, some of the election coverage, as well as a Hurricane Melissa update. But we have this happening live. We're going to show you, this is a press conference for the 277 pedestrian bridge. They are about to start construction. This is commonly known as the Rail Trail Bridge, so definitely something that people are very excited about, and I'm sure we'll be excited to see getting started.
Partners, Crescent Communities, Portman Holdings, Whole Foods, the North Carolina Department of Transportation, Mecklenburg County, and of course the leadership and investment of the City of Charlotte. In that vein, it's my pleasure to introduce the City of Charlotte's Mayor Pro Tem, Dante Anderson. Thank you, Dante.
Well, good morning, everyone. And what a beautiful, shiny, sunny morning it is. My name is Dante Anderson. I am the Mayor Pro Tem of the City of Charlotte, and I represent this area in Charlotte City Council. And I can't tell you how good it feels to finally be right here at this moment. This bridge has been a long time in the making. And for those of us who live and work here, we know exactly what it means. For years, I-277 has felt like a dividing line, a stretch of highway that made two connected communities feel just a little bit too far apart. But today, that changes. This rail trail bridge is about crossing barriers. And you can see how gorgeous it is. The design is elegant. It's going to be beautiful. Creating a safe, welcoming, and inspiring way for people to move through our city. It's about giving more people more opportunities and choices to walk, to ride, and to connect safely throughout their neighborhoods. As someone who deeply believes in mobility and equitable access, I see this project as a reflection of our city's values. When we invest in infrastructure to connect people, we're not just improving transportation, we're improving opportunity and quality of life. And that represents the vision of so many who have been a part of this project, as you just heard. So I want to thank all of the many partners who brought this to life, the planners, the community advocates who made this possible, and had the patience to stay with us through it all. You didn't just help design a bridge that is gorgeous, you helped design the next chapter of our city's history. This is what progress looks like and how connection feels. So I look forward to seeing how Charlotte moves together on this bridge, and it's just the beginning. Thank you so much. It is my absolute pleasure to introduce Dee Odell from US Bank.
Good morning. Welcome again to this incredibly important milestone here. We've heard appreciation expressed for lots of different organizations who were a part of this. I want to say a special thank you to Michael Smith and Center City Partners for their leadership not only on this project, but their leadership on so many things that over the last couple of decades have shaped how our Center City works together to promote Charlotte and to create a wonderful place for us to live, work, and play here in the Central Business District. So thank you, Michael. At US Bank, we are heavily committed to supporting the communities where we do business. So in 2019, when the opportunity arose for us to be involved in this project, we saw investing in this pedestrian bridge as a perfect way for us to show our commitment by supporting a project that literally brings this community together. At the time that we made our $1 million commitment, U.S. Bank had been in Charlotte for almost 15 years. And we had about 800 employees here. But in all honesty, we were not very well known. And we were not very visible because we had not begun to open branches. And since then, that has changed dramatically. We now have more than 1,400 employees across the city in a variety of business lines. And we've added 7 bank branches, including one not far from here in South End. And we have plans to double that number over the coming years. We are invested in Charlotte and in the community because this is our home. And this beautiful new pedestrian bridge is just one example of our commitment to making this city an amazing place to live, work, and play. Just like U.S. Bank, South End and Uptown have continued to grow since this project was announced, and we are honored to have played a part. We can't wait to see it take shape and become an iconic part of our landscape. Thanks to all of you for being here today and supporting this great milestone.
So I have some housekeeping for everybody. We want to thank everybody for being here. We want to thank our sponsors and our partners and all of our project partners. We want to thank U.S. Bank, the North Carolina Department of Transportation, who are our project partners, Mecklenburg County, SBP, Thomas and Hutton, DePena Studios, and the City of Charlotte. And if you look at your program, you will see the sponsors listed, and on the back you will see some fast facts that are really important, and you'll see a QR code that you can where you can sign up for important text updates via text message for the bridge project. I think that's really great. So please take a moment to look at the project boards and the renderings and talk to the people who made this all possible. The speakers, the sponsors, and project team are available now to the media for one-on-ones. Thank you again for being here, and thank you for your interest in this project.
All right, you were just listening into all sorts of important figures in Charlotte, including Mayor Pro Tem Dante Anderson, who represents this area, discussing the work beginning on the I-277 bridge, the rail trail bridge that would connect South End and Uptown. So that's obviously a big project that people are really looking forward to. A lot of you use the rail trail to walk, and I know that that is, even for people who walk to work maybe or want to walk to work from South End to Uptown or vice versa, that is going to be a really important project. I think people are going to be really excited about that. So that construction is getting started. We'll have more updates on that at 4, 5, and 6, I believe. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in 2 minutes. Welcome back. Just past 10:15 here in the Live Impact studio. I've been mentioning that Sarah Stevenson Forum with District 6. We are going to get back to that. I do want to mention that around 10:30 we are expecting Governor McMaster out of South Carolina to give an update on the loss of SNAP benefits in the month of November. So once we get that live feed up, we're definitely going to go out there because that is really, really important for a lot of families. So know that that is coming up, and when we get it, we will go to it. But for now, back to District 6. What's really important here is that this is a race between a Democrat, Kimberly Owens, and Republican, Krista Bakari. Krista Bakari, though, did not show up. So right now we're just listening to Kimberly Owens, but definitely notable that Krista Bakari did not appear for what's really a historic ongoing forum that most candidates do show up to. So here's that.
Make resources available for people who want to age in place and who need some assistance with taxes. I know that there are efforts in place to help them. Luana Mayfield has spoken so eloquently about some of the programs that she's put forward to help people repair their aging homes. Truth be told, what I'm seeing in my own neighborhood in Montebello Crossing is that these homes are being ripped down. They're tearing them down. I had a house look just like mine, a $3.8 million house went up right next to it. So I hear that, I know that that is happening. The argument is that developers won't build them if people won't buy them. Again, hearkening back to what Luana has said, the education of a community, if they do have a homeowners association, helping them know how to enforce their covenants so that they are able to keep out certain sizes of homes or certain dwelling unit styles, or just really helping them keep the character of their neighborhood. But it is a problem. We have a lot of money coming in here, and those folks do seem to want to buy big houses. And that's capitalism. That's how that's working. And so I don't have a great answer other than hoping to connect people with the resources that keep people able to pay their taxes, keep people able to repair their homes. And those are all things that I know that the city is doing to try to alleviate that stress.
Jackie. Hello, Kim. Hello. I was looking at the numbers that had come into the Board of Elections as of this morning. And in your area, more than 2,500 folk have voted at South Park, which is almost 10 times some of the other primary sites. I just mentioned that, but I wanted to know, tell us about your early years to get you to the thinking that you have today.
So I'm originally from Illinois. I'm the first generation in my family to graduate from college. My dad worked in a steel mill and my mom worked in retail. My grandfather worked in a steel mill, and his dad before him was a failed entrepreneur and a failed farmer as well. I am really such a beneficiary of upward mobility that my kids don't necessarily see anymore. I mention them again because they are my why, because so much of what I saw when I moved here in 1994, I made $57,000. I was a graduate of law school. I was able with that $57,000 to get my own apartment, to have a car, to have car insurance, to have health insurance, to service debt on my student loans, because I had gone to Northwestern University and then to Chapel Hill for law school, had a lot of student loans. I was able to do all of that on that income, and Charlotte just seemed like this magical place where anything could happen and I could be a success. I struggled at first in my first couple of law firms because there was a lot of generational wealth. And not coming from that, I didn't feel like I belonged. And so, the first few years here, I did feel a bit like an outsider. But as time evolved and opportunities evolved and I progressed through my law firms and then into in-house, I've been able to have these children who, all I thought I had to do was send them to college and they'd be set, and now they're back and they're not thriving, they're not launching, they're not experiencing those opportunities. One of my sons makes literally $3,000 more a month than I did when I moved here in 1994. A year, when I moved here in 1994. So he's in his high school bedroom and he's got a good job, but it is just not enough. So our wealth our wealth disparity and our wage gaps have really colored my impressions of what opportunities are available to our young kids when they try to move back to Charlotte now. But the Charlotte, for me, it felt magical. You know, it was the biggest city I'd ever lived in. It still is. It just had such potential. And I want to see that again. I want to experience that through their eyes again. But I thank you for the question. But yeah, I grew up, I'm just a Midwestern girl. I've lived here, moved here in 91, and then to Charlotte in 94.
I have a question. My question is, as you have been around as a candidate, and you've been around the other candidate that's running against you in District 6, what have you picked up from the conversations or from what you've heard that they will be sharing with the community to encourage people to vote for them, that you think that you should possibly elaborate more on?
To be fair, I've had very few opportunities where I've been around her this week while we've been standing out in the rain trying to get people to vote for us. Has really been the longest period of time that Krista and I have been together. I do take from what I've heard her proxies and her advocates say when they've been out there as well, is there's a very big focus on safety. And the murder of Irina Zaruska and some of the calls by the FOP for the National Guard have been reposted and articulated by my opponent as being, potential good avenues for us as we look at public safety. I disagree vehemently with that. I think anyone in this room, you know that the National Guard is not a civilian police force. That is not appropriate. So I push back on that. I've also heard, her say that her experience set is greater than mine because she has served as a constituent coordinator. I can't remember the terminology, but effectively she's been married to somebody on city council and has fulfilled a lot of his softer touch responsibilities that are, I guess, not his true north. I take issue with that only because, I really do not think that, being a spouse and supporting that spouse is something, that's something that all of us do. I don't know that it's something that really prepares you well for office. I appreciate that she helps him with his job. But I will say the hard skills are really where I want to draw the distinctions. So I've been a real estate attorney for 30 years. I've due diligenced $1 billion in transactions. I've done M&A. I've done a number of the things that do touch on what City Council does. In addition, I've also had those soft roles in the community where I've served my HOA. I started a nonprofit for our local school because they needed to raise funds for a playground that was ADA compliant. I have, served Council for Children's Rights, representing kids facing expulsion from school. I've done all of those soft things that give you insights into the needs of the community. I've done all of that. I've been able to get a stop sign where one was needed in a neighborhood in South Park. I've done those things, but in addition to that, I've also honed my skills as an attorney. And so I would challenge that there is a clear incumbent. She hasn't so much as called herself an incumbent, but it's definitely been a sense that she's already going to hit the ground running because of her husband. And I challenge that. I don't find that persuasive.
Okay, Winston.
Good morning. So I wanted to ask you about being a representative. Well, if you were the representative of District 6, what would your magic wand ideal structure look like for the people who live, I believe, in Cedar Knoll, Savannah Woods, and there's one more Olivian property that is very nestled in a lot of wealth? How would you optimize their lived experience?
I think that we have been able over the last few years to widen the lens on what community means and how to incorporate more mixed income housing. So my intention would be to have more linkages between those communities and the communities that surround. We've got the loop that now goes around South Park. I've had people say, I want access to these greenway spaces. I want access to these amenities. I think you need to have more linkages between communities that do have mixed income housing, more linkages to the amenities of South Park. I think that lifts all of us up to have those sorts of spaces be shared spaces and not be spaces that are just uniquely designed for a particular 1 mile radius of South Park Mall. I think we can all benefit from that. I think we also need to look very closely at our workforce housing. There are so many people who work in District 6 who cannot afford to live in District 6. We need to be more thoughtful about what success looks like in terms of how we are incorporating community, be it our police officers or our teachers or folks, again, who serve very well that community and would benefit immensely from having more housing that was available to them. So my best answer is just to establish linkages and to not have these isolated corridors or pockets of folks who live in Libyan housing or any of the other opportunities that are going up there.
Robert Collins.
Good morning again. You said that you did vote for the highway road tax. Most people in this room, from what I've heard, don't agree with it. What reason could you give the people in this room to say that they should vote for it?
I'd like to rephrase the question a little bit. I'm not going to tell you how you should vote. I came in here knowing that I was walking into a room of people who did not vote for it or will not vote for it, and I knew that I did. The reason I did, and I was back and forth with it, I took a lot of my comfort ultimately from the Black Political Caucus, the forum that I attended here, where the Black Political Caucus went through their 6 reasons. Now I've been told since then that I was hoodwinked by those persuaded, I should not have been as persuaded as I was, but I got a lot of comfort out of it, but I was already inclined towards it because I'm trying to think with a mindset of what is good for District 6. And what is good for District 6 right now is for people to be able to retain jobs in District 6. And I talked to a really brilliant woman who owned a hotel in District 6. And she had a mid-level manager who was about to fire some employees who just were not consistently coming to work. They just could not get there on time. And instead of saying something to this manager, she said, let's go on a field trip tomorrow. And she took her and the rest of the human resources folks on a tour of Charlotte by bus all day. And after that, they got back to the hotel and they're like, yeah, we're not firing anybody. They appreciated through that experience that they were putting their lived experience onto another person's body, and it wasn't fair because these folks had absolutely no control. A lot of folks, either if they've got a vehicle, maybe it doesn't run or whatever, and they could not consistently arrive at work on time. And I love that example of leadership and of somebody taking a managerial moment and really showing somebody instead of just telling somebody what the constraints are. So I took from that and other businesses that I talked to who also similarly said, my people can't live here, but they need to be able to get to work. And so I thought, okay, well, this is good for 6, but is it good for the city? And then again, I did take some comfort from the Black Political Caucus. Probably the thing that was the most persuasive to me, and you can disabuse me if I was misled, but the education component. My kids all went to magnet school. And I said it before, they had the great good fortune of having a mom and a dad with a car who could drive them to the shuttle stop so that they could get the opportunities to go into Randolph Middle School. And Randolph Middle School's IB program absolutely, unequivocally prepared them for success at Myers Park IB and then for college. And I don't know, they probably would have been fine at their local school, which was Carmel, but I wanted them to have a broader experience. I wanted them to go someplace else. And a lot of kids don't have that opportunity. And so I did take some persuasion from the BPC that they felt as though this transit opportunity would enable more kids to access some of the programs, both during school and then after school programs, where they're not able to get to and fro. So that's how I made my decision, but it's one vote. I have no other responsibility right now other than if I am elected to serve with honor and purpose when we select these people. I did throw my hat in the ring for the Transit Authority because I am skeptical of how those dollars are going to be used. I hope to bring that healthy skepticism to my leadership if I'm not elected as a District 6 representative. I hope I'll be on the Transit Authority.
Okay, Winston.
So going back to the South Park area, it seems like such a microcosm of what Charlotte's going through with the growth. And given that you have been in District 6, I believe, since the 90s, with Montebello Crossing, and your experience with the houses going up beside you, where is that line between growth and optimization for your current residents? Like, what would you say to your MSDs and MSAs for the trajectory of South Park? Like, you can take advantage and leverage the boom, but you know the infrastructure will have its insecurities. Where do you stand of how I would like to live and how this city should grow?
It's a big question. My sense is that the infrastructure is
All right, we're breaking into the
possibly
forum
one of
again for a bit because we have a safety briefing out of Jamaica that we want to get to. Of course, Hurricane Melissa is on her way. Chris Mulcahy was in here earlier saying that this is obviously a really intense storm. Not sure if they're about to start a presentation, I think is what's happening here. So let's take a listen in and see if they have anything, any updates that we need to know. Of course, as you can see it is very, very close to hitting landfall. So this is urgent.
And the south of the country, we've been having some periods of heavy rainfall, mostly moderate rainfall. There have also been gusts of wind and some sustained strong winds over sections of the island. The gusts, of course, going well into tropical storm force as we went through the night last night and as we have gone through this morning so far. We recognize that the system has not yet made landfall. The center is still some distance away from the coastline, just about 70 to 75 kilometers from the southwestern coastline, and it is still moving toward the north-northeast. So it is moving closer and closer to the coastline of Jamaica. I mentioned that it has been moving slowly, but it has been moving a little bit faster than it was previously because it's now moving at 11 kilometers per hour. That's just about 7 miles per hour.
All right, we're actually going to keep this in a little small box on the side of the screen, but we mentioned Governor McMaster would be giving an update on SNAP benefits. So we're going to get to that now and come back out to Jamaica if that is still happening. Here's that.
County, as all of you know, we're here to address the needs of the people of our state and their safety during this time of trial when the food for a lot of people has been cut off by the dysfunction in Washington. We wish they could pass that resolution to just keep spending money like they have been for these kind of things. And debating other questions at other times, but they've chosen so far not to do that. So that means that for these types of things, we are once again left to ourselves, which we are prepared to meet, and it's a good thing. As y'all know from many times we've been at this podium in this building during emergencies, some terrible emergencies threatening death as well as destruction, South Carolina always pulls together. We've got a great team. We've worked together. It's a highly experienced team. It's a highly motivated team. And it's a team that cares very much about the people of South Carolina. The one fund is administered by the General Carolina Community Foundation located in Columbia. The fund was established, you'll remember, in 2015 following Hurricane Joaquin, when Governor Haley set it up and asked the South Carolina, it to serve as South Carolina's coordinated philanthropic response to disasters such as this one, as well as hurricanes, other storms, and fires. The 1SC fund has been activated in hurricanes Matthew, Florence, Helene, as well as COVID, as you remember. 99%, that is 99% of every dollar donated to the 1SC fund is granted to nonprofits, that is charities that provide local assistance in South Carolina. The remaining 1% goes for outreach and study and research and reporting and administration and the oversight of grant contracts. The Central Carolina Community Foundation has activated the 1 SC fund to provide emergency monetary support, that is money, funds, to food banks and local feeding partners statewide during the suspension of the SNAP program. We don't know how long that's going to be. We'll address that in a few minutes about how quickly we can respond. Now again, this is for money, for checks, for contributions to charities. And we're asking you to do this. This money that goes to the 1SC fund will go directly to the food banks that we have that have been established for years all over South Carolina. We have a presence of food banks in every single county. All of this can be found online. We have 900 food banks and food pantries in the state, and they're broken up into 4 regional groups: the Golden Harvest Food Bank, the Harvest Hope Food Bank, the Low Country Food Bank, and the Second Harvest Food Bank of Metro Lima. Also, the second part of the effort is I've asked the State Guard to participate. The State Guard has men and women all around our state that can respond to disasters, that can help in a variety of ways, and they will be there to assist in whatever way they can at these locations during this time. So we really do have a great team. And what we're asking is, we know people give regularly, some very generously, to charities, food banks, all these various charities all over the state. We want to encourage you to keep doing that. But this money that comes into 1SC fund will be used only for this effort and having the food and other supplies and things that are available at these food banks all over the state. All this can be found online, and we'll have questions in a little while. Georgia?
Thank you. Governor, thank you for calling on us at Central Carolina Community Foundation to activate the 1SC Fund, which, as you said, was created in partnership with the governor's office 10 years ago. I do want to say very clearly that South Carolinians know how to help their neighbors in times of crisis. Most recently, we saw that with Hurricane Helene. That was the largest activation of the 1SC Fund. As context, that raised over $6 million. I want to say that today because we need people to step up and give in ways that they have never given before. We need our corporate partners and other foundations, philanthropy, to come together in a unified way to make sure that 550,000 people in this state who will not have access to their food benefits on November 1st have the food resources they need when they turn to their local food pantries and food ministries and food banks. As you said, Governor, there is a network of hundreds upon hundreds of people who show up every day to volunteer, to serve, to bring food donations, food products. But our food banks are short of the food resources that they need right now, and that's where the 1SC Fund comes into play. We are here to raise those dollars and make grants as quickly as possible. Every dollar that comes into the 1SC Fund, as you said, 99% will go right back out into local nonprofits here in South Carolina, including the large food distribution centers that you see their leaders standing here with us today. The 1SC Fund starts at zero. We don't have a reserve of dollars waiting to be deployed. Today, we are opening this fund so that you can give. We're opening it because the need is great, and we urge you to go to 1scfund.org. You can make a cash contribution, mail in a check, give by credit card, or contact us if you'd like to make a gift in another way. We appreciate you, Governor, Team SC. We're so grateful for the nonprofits working day in and day out to meet needs, not only in times of crisis like this, but year-round. Thank you to our food banks, and thank you to the volunteers, the givers, the philanthropists in our community who step up every day and in times of crisis like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Georgia. And I'd like to note one thing. Usually when we're here with these meetings and briefings, we are speaking about a disaster that we know is going to come. Well, this is a disaster that may come, but this is a disaster unlike the others that we can avoid. And we can do that by doing what we are prepared to do, and that's all the citizens working together to help those who need the help, who need food. Thank you. And Erin Rowe, Harvest Hope Food Bank.
Thank you. My name is Erin Rowe. I'm the CEO of Harvest Hope Food Bank. We are the largest food bank in South Carolina, covering a 20-county footprint from the upstate all the way down to that PD.
You've been listening into a South Carolina press briefing with Governor McMaster, officials from the program, and now you're listening to one of the food banks in the area where they're telling us that there is no reserve for these benefits. So in November, things are going to get a lot worse if the government shutdown does not ease up. So more updates to come. We're going to come back to this press conference if it's still going on after the break in 2 minutes. Welcome back to Live Impact News, 10:45 on the clock, and lots going on live right now. In particular, we are hearing from South Carolina officials on the impact of SNAP benefits going away in November if this government shutdown does not ease up, if the Senate cannot come to an agreement on how to fund the government. You've heard already from Governor McMaster, you're hearing from officials, now you've heard from the food bank, so we're going to keeping an eye on this, but know that we are also at the same time, as you can see here, watching Hurricane Melissa. That is the active track in the bottom right corner of your screen. On the top right corner of your screen, Jamaican officials are giving an update. Again, we are just a couple hours away from it making landfall, as you heard Chris Mulcahy talking about earlier. So lots going on right now, sticking with South Carolina, but know that that is happening at the same time.
Incredibly large network of dedicated partner agencies have shown time and time again that we have the capacity to respond. And this is another example of a time when we will also respond. And obviously, when that funding is available, we will be activating and responding. Private support is vital to our mission, and we're incredibly grateful for it. However, we can't replace the sheer volume of nutrition assistance that federal programs like SNAP provide our neighbours who are experiencing hunger. And as we've heard already, SNAP is providing nearly 550,000 people in South Carolina with the food that they need to get by each month. 48% of South Carolinian households receiving SNAP have children. Even with robust support, food banks can provide only a fraction of the nutritional assistance that feeding programs like SNAP provide. For every meal that a food bank provides the neighbours experiencing hunger, SNAP provides up to 9. As the need rises, South Carolina food banks will continue to show up for their communities. We will continue to work together, and we will continue to meet the need amongst our communities. So we're looking forward to working with everyone in partnership with the lawmakers, our business community, our faith community, and individuals to ensure that everyone in South Carolina continues to have the food that they need on the tables each and every day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick Osborne. Tony Catone, Department of Social Services.
Thank you, Governor. Hello, everyone. I'm here to tell you just a little bit about the reason for this need. The Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, called SNAP, is the federally funded program that provides low-income households with nutrition assistance by increasing the household's food purchasing power for groceries. Benefits are paid monthly. The funds flow directly from the federal government to a third-party vendor which processes the benefits. The state agency is responsible for determining eligibility of applicants but does not administer the funds directly. This means that DSS and the state of South Carolina do not have direct access to the funds. As many know already, the federal agency that governs SNAP, the USDA, has suspended November 2025 SNAP benefit allotments until further notice. And more recently, the USDA notified states that they cannot cover the cost of these benefits and be reimbursed later by the federal government, that's not allowed. For the month of September 2025, the SNAP program in South Carolina served 266,350 households. That represents 556,359 individuals, and the program provided $103,805,406 in federally funded benefits. That's per month. 71% of benefits recipients are children and seniors. We've been informed that food banks and food pantries from our community partners are already experiencing increasing demand, and I think that's a good sign that people are planning ahead. But the need here will be great, and that's why we're grateful for Governor McMaster calling this press conference and the activation of the 1SC Fund by the Central Carolina Community Foundation. The people of South Carolina are a caring people who know how to love their neighbor. I've read that in some languages, the word or symbol for crisis is nearly identical to the word or symbol for opportunity. Our community has the opportunity here to stand in the gap for our neighbors and share with one another as we see needs. My prayer is that we will not let this opportunity to make a difference in the lives of others pass us by. And I believe in the spirit of unity among our people in South Carolina. That spirit can meet this need. Thank you, Governor.
Thanks, sir. Tony Catone. Sheriff Lott, Leon Lott, Commander of the State Guard.
Thank you. The governor has directed the State Guard to be part of this effort. This is a challenge, but when there's a challenge, we also have opportunities, and this is an opportunity for all of us to work together to take care of those in our state who need our help. You just heard that the majority of these people are kids and senior citizens. That's the two groups that we really need to always focus on. The State Guard is over 400 men and women who wear this uniform, who love this state, but also care for every citizen here. What we've been directed by the governor to do is assist in these operations. As these tractor trailers come into these different food banks, we'll have soldiers there ready and able to unload the trucks. But we also will be there as a show of force with our local law enforcement agencies to make sure that everything's done in a safe and orderly way. We don't want anybody to try to take advantage of this challenge that we've got, and we're going to make sure that those in uniform are there to take care of that. But this is an opportunity for South Carolina to stand tall. We've done it in the past, and we'll continue to do it. This is another opportunity for South Carolinians to take care of South Carolinians, and we can do it. Your State Guard is trained and ready for operations like this, and we're going to be out there in full force supporting the governor's efforts and everybody up here, and all those that are listening and watching, the volunteers and those who want to help. We're ready to help. We need your help. This is a time for all of us to stand together as one South Carolina. But your State Guard is trained and ready, and we'll be there to assist. Thank you.
Thank you, Commander and Sheriff. Well, you see what we're facing, and again, I think this is a real opportunity, and the real good news in it is that if the Congress does not pass a authorization, then we are ready. We don't have to hurry and get ready. We stay ready. We stay ready for hurricanes. A lot of states don't have hurricanes. Of course, they don't have oceans, so they don't have the kind of networks that we have. And I think most states probably are not as deeply related to each other as we are in South Carolina. Everybody's got cousins everywhere and friends for lifetimes because we don't move much. If we're born here, we typically stay here. So those things give us a big advantage. But this is a time, as Rick Osmond said, that they on regular days they give out maybe one meal for every 9 that the SNAP program would cover. Well, what that means is this is not a time to make a regular donation. This is not a time for regular help. This is time for something extraordinary. This is a time where if you gave $1 to the 1SC fund in an earlier time, of course, always give more. But if you gave, say to a charity, if you gave $1, this would be a time to give 10. So these food
All right, we're having a bit of trouble with the feed there, so we're going to take a quick break and see if that gets working again, but not unusual. Just know that that's probably going to come back up in a minute. If not, we have the press conference out of Jamaica where officials are giving an update there, so we'll come back in about 2 minutes. Welcome back to Live Impact News. Just a couple more minutes that we've got you here in the Live Impact studio before we get to our next show. But we want to get back out to Governor McMaster. That feed is back up, giving an update on SNAP benefits. Of course, if the government shutdown does not have some sort of conclusion soon with the Senate deciding on a spending bill, those funds will go away in November. And officials there telling us we do not have reserves there.
Without depending on anyone else. And that's a great thing. Another question.
Governor McMaster, you know, we're hearing this plea for South Carolina residents to step up and give. How is the South Carolina government itself going to step up?
Well, there are very few mechanisms that we have other than the agencies that are already in place, but we have no agency that gives out food. This is what that's what the SNAP program was there for, is there for, and we can put ourselves into that position right now by what we're doing today.
Governor, typically when you're standing up there, it's a disaster that we can't avoid. It's a hurricane that we can't deflect or move. This thing, there seems like there's at least 3, 4, 5 different ways you could avoid this. Is it frustrating that no one's taking the initiative to try to avert this crisis?
Well, we have to deal the cards that we're dealt, And they're frozen in Washington right now, so we're doing it ourselves. And fortunately, we have the ability, we have the assets. All it takes is the will to do it. Yes, sir.
A lot of elderly are on SNAP and may need food to take their medicine, and now they might have to use their medicine money to buy food. Is there anything in place for them with that?
I think the short answer is that there is nothing that substitutes for SNAP. That is the federally funded program that is designed to provide for this food need, and so there really isn't a ready substitute that exists.
For Aaron or Nick, both of y'all have mentioned, including this morning, but repeatedly, there is no way food banks can totally make up and fill this gap that SNAP could potentially leave by the end of this week. Is there anything else you want to see the state do, or you want to see done in general short of congressional action to avert this crisis?
I'll take that. It's just a matter of math, honestly. $100 million per month is not something that we've ever seen philanthropy raise in a week. So it's a matter of having money to buy food. We will buy it as fast as we possibly can with the money that's given to us, but once again, we're limited by the amount of donations that we receive. It is going to take a statewide effort that is bigger than a philanthropy effort to fill in this gap that SNAP is leaving right now because of the sheer volume. Like, it's just, we are not logistically made to address the sheer volume of need that's about to happen.
But let me add this. There are a lot of ways without going through an official program or a charity, and that's just helping your neighbor. If you know somebody that needs help, go buy a basket of food and leave it on the front doorstep. Maybe put it up high so the dogs won't get it, but leave something for them. There are 1,000 ways that you can help.
You've been listening in there to Governor McMaster giving an update on SNAP benefits. Of course, really disappointing news that there's no reserves, and so that's going to really impact families in South Carolina. Also, of course, paying attention to Hurricane Melissa.